Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 15 4 key game picks. Quick update as we go into week number 15, the standings in both the AFC and NFC conferences. Beginning in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers still retain the number 1 seed. The Patriots are the 2nd seed. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the 3rd seed. The Chiefs are still the 4th seed. The Titans are the 5th seed, and the Bills are in the 6th seed. In the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles regain the first seed for the time being. The Vikings are the 2nd seed. Rams are the 3rd seed. The Saints are the 4th seed. Panthers are the 5th seed. And the Falcons now have moved into the 6th seed. Very quick thoughts from week number 14. Obviously, the big story that came out of week number 14 was the injury to Carson Wentz. It was an injury that you would think from a guy that was clearly on his way to winning the MVP this season, the way he was playing and the way he's taking that Philadelphia Eagles team right now to big-time supremacy. It's just unfortunate that an injury like this really dampers the Eagles' season. A lot of people saying, even with Nick Foles, the Eagles don't stand a chance. Well, look, Nick Foles knows the Eagles very well, and he's been with that team for a while, for quite some time. So I wouldn't be too despondent right now, Eagles fans. He does give them hope. They still have a good offense. Defense-wise, they're playing average, and that should be kind of a little bit of more of a concern for this team right now. Is really their defense. And what I mean by that, it was a high-scoring game that the Eagles got with the Rams, even though they did win. But still, their defense now is starting to raise some eyebrows right now and some questions. The Chiefs finally getting back on track. It was a game last week that they had to have, and I wasn't surprised by that. Even though I did pick the Raiders, because I thought the way the Chiefs were playing and the way that Andy Reid has lost control of that team, I would think, oh boy, could this Chiefs team completely just collapse this season? Apparently they're not dead yet. And a victory last week against the Raiders really helps a lot, because now they would have at least some they would own some tiebreakers. But keep in mind, they got a big matchup coming up, and this may decide the division right here, as they got the Chargers coming up, and it's actually going to be one of my key game picks that I will get into in just a minute. Steelers having to come back to beat the Ravens. That does raise some more eyebrows there. To me, their defense really is not as strong as I thought it was. But yet their offense really I'd see is an even bigger question. Roethlisberger didn't even play that all. He had to really work hard to come from behind to bring that offense and beat the Ravens last week. So yeah, it was kind of a you don't know what you're getting with the Steelers team. And let's keep in mind here, teams like the Eagles, the Steelers, I think they're the only two teams right now have clinched the division. Patriots losing to the Dolphins, I don't think anybody should be shocked about that. You would think that, I originally thought the Patriots would beat the Dolphins. That should have been an easy game for them. But does it bring in mind some questions for this team? Not necessarily. If there was a loss that the Patriots could take, and I think it was maybe, if you're a Patriots fan, I would say this to you. It was good that they lost this game rather than going to face the Pittsburgh Steelers next week with the number 1 seed on the line here in the AFC conference, because next week's game with them is going to be critical to who gets the home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the AFC in terms of owning the tiebreakers. And of course, Ron Gronkowski was suspended for that game, so that actually kind of helps, because you want to have your focus now against the Steelers this week. Cowboys still alive. Browns still winless. I'm not surprised by that, and it's safe to say that they're going to go 0-16. But here's some good news though. If you're a Packers fan, you got Aaron Rodgers back, and I look at it from a standpoint here in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers healthy is the last thing you want to see right now, because they got, and especially the Packers have a big game coming up to keep their playoff hopes alive against the Panthers. And if if you're everybody in the NFC conference right now, you do not, I repeat, do not want to see this team get on a run here, because they did this before. That's why they won the Super Bowl in 2000 during the 2010 season. This is the last thing anybody in the NFC needs right now, is to have the Packers be on a roll. Now, I know a lot of you saying, well, the Packers are pretty beat up. I don't know how Rodgers' health will be, even though he's cleared to play. Yes, but if he somehow gets that team going, I don't think anybody in the NFC could stop him. You could say, look, the Vikings might be the best team right now. The Eagles could still be the best team right now. But the last team you want to run into, I guarantee you, is the Packers. I'm just being honest here. I'm being somewhat realistic here. All right, let's get into my picks. All right, let's begin with key game number 1. As I mentioned earlier in the thoughts, it is the Chargers and the Chiefs. Chargers surprisingly are a 1-point favorite in this one, but this game is in Kansas City here. And let's keep in mind, the Chargers haven't won in Kansas City in quite some time here. Key stats from their respective games last week. Rivers went 18 of 31, 319 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and that was a good key right there for Rivers here. The Chargers on a big-time winning streak right now. They're 7-6. They could not be in a much better position here. Now the Chiefs, even though they did beat the Raiders in a must-win game, though, Smith went 20 of 34, 268 yards, no touchdown passes at all. And also he had 1 interception here. This game is evenly matched here. The way the Chiefs are playing right now, and the way this losing streak that they've had in these last few weeks, I mean, this still has to be kind of discouraging if you're a Chiefs fan here. But there's a key thing here. The Chargers haven't won in Kansas City in quite some time. And they always have trouble at Arrowhead. I mean, it's been probably maybe 3-4 years since the last time they've won there. This is a very tough pick here. Obviously, the lead in the AFC West is on the line here. Whoever wins this game pretty much may own a tiebreaker towards the end of the season here. But if I'm going to pick in this game here, I think the home field advantage for the Chiefs will definitely play a factor in this game, especially the fact that the Chargers have a tough time in very hostile environments here. And this is not a sure pick here. This is going to be a very close game. I expect this to be a very close game here. And I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. Even though the Chargers are on a winning streak, and the Chargers are a slight favorite in this one by 1 point, it's probably going to be lines even by the time this game starts on Saturday. Keep in mind, this game is on Saturday. But I'm actually going to pick the Chiefs here. I think they're starting to realize now this may be their last good run to make the playoffs and try to make a run themselves. And the last thing they need right now is a loss. A loss here to the Chargers. Pretty much the Chargers now would be in the driver's seat to win the division if they win out the remainder of their games. But I think the Chiefs know that this game matters to them, and it matters to them big time here, and that is why I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. Chiefs over the Chargers. Key game number 2, as I mentioned before, this is one of my other key game picks I talked about. The Packers at the Panthers. Rodgers is coming back in this game, as I mentioned. Key stats before he went down with the injury, though. He has gone for 128 attempts out of 193 passes. He's already thrown for 1,300 yards already, 13 touchdown passes. And the key big stat here, only intercepted 3 times this season before the injury. So that's actually still some good stats for Aaron Rodgers here. And at the end, his health is going to definitely be a question to see if he really is 100% healthy. The doctor said that he's cleared, so he definitely will be playing on Sunday. Carolina, though, is a 3-point favorite in this one here. And it had a big win last week against the Vikings. The reason why the Vikings now are the 2 seed and the Eagles go back to the 1 seed. Newton went 13 of 25 against the Vikings last week with 137 yards and 1 touchdown pass. And this is a kind of a game that, you wish Aaron Rodgers was not playing in if you're the Panthers here. Panthers are a 3-point favorite in this one. That number may be lower. Probably 2.5, maybe 2 points. Carolina does slightly have a much better offense here, but that was before before that the Packers would get Aaron Rodgers back in this game. I would say this game is maybe about as evenly matched as it can get. Now, I know the Packers are still struggling. They do have some other key injuries too. But when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, and that's very encouraging news if you're a Packers fan because you need them in this game. The Packers right now, they need a win desperately to keep to keep their very slim playoff hopes alive here. And they do own some tiebreakers because the Cowboys are right behind them in the wild card standings here in the hunt. And they do own that tiebreaker with the Cowboys because they beat them earlier in the season. Expect a close game here. This one will be a game, I guarantee this will be a very close game here. Who am I picking in this game? I'm going out on the upset here. I think the Packers are going to beat the Panthers here. It'll be a very, very close game. And this is a pick I'm not sure of either. Very, very close game expected here. And really, the Panthers offense really has to slow down. The Panthers offense has to slow down the Packers defense. Really do a good job and a good number on their defense. Otherwise, the Panthers are going to get into a dogfight in this game. And I see that happening. I think, to me, knowing the Packers right now, Aaron Rodgers, so hungry to get out there on the field. There's no question. I can see him beating the Panthers here in a very close game here. And that's why I'm going to stick with that. Now, you can laugh at me. You can laugh at me on this pick here, but it's just something about Green Bay. You know, I mean, seeing Aaron Rodgers play these last few years, they've been in the playoffs every year. Every year since he's been there. And I guarantee you, I can see the Packers winning this game here. And I'm going to stick with that. Packers over the Panthers. Key game number 3. Big one in the NFC West. This definitely will decide the division right here. Rams and the Seahawks. Seahawks are actually a 1.5 point favorite in this one. Key stats from the games last week with the Rams and the Seahawks in their respective games. Now, Jared Goff last week against the Eagles, 16 of 26, 199 yards and 2 touchdown passes. He actually played a good game, but just the Eagles' offense was slightly better. Seahawks last week against the Jaguars, Wilson went 17 of 31, 271 yards, 3 touchdown passes, but the key stat in this one here, 3 interceptions. He was picked off 3 times in that game last week. This game is pretty evenly matched here. The Seahawks won the first meeting. Now this one decides it here. The Seahawks are at home here. But here's some key things here. Now last week against the Jaguars, there were some scuffles with some players here. Bennett got into a confrontation with some fans in Jacksonville. Some things that got thrown at him. I think it was either Bennett or another player. No, but really, Pete Carroll really has lost control of this team for some reason. I mean, their offense really was completely out of sync last week. The Jacksonville Jaguars did a great job of holding Wilson at bay. And it does bring some questions in mind. I know they're dealing with nagging injuries here, and their playoff hopes are pretty much in jeopardy here if they lose this game, because the only way they're going to get in the playoffs is if they win the division. Now the Rams here, I would say they're in pretty good shape here, but this is really a big game, and they haven't been in a big game. I mean, for a lot of these players here, this is really maybe one of their biggest games of the season, other than the game last week against the Eagles. And the reason being, you're talking about the the West Division. This is on the line right here. Pretty much the winner of this game pretty much is going to win the division, because they would own the tiebreaker. Another tough pick here should be a good one in Seattle, and I expect it to be. I predict this actually going to be a low-scoring game here. I think it's going to be low scoring because Seattle's got good home field advantage and all. But the off the field issues and what happened in Jacksonville last week, I think is going to be a huge distraction for this team. And I'm actually leaning towards the Rams here. And I'm actually going to pick them. The Rams are actually in much better shape than the Seahawks are in. Now, I know the Seahawks are good at home. But I just think in this case here, I think the Rams are in much better position here. I mean, they played very well last week against the Eagles, even though they lost by more than 10 points. I think it was by 10 points, I think. Anyways, and I'm going to stick with it. I think the Rams offense will definitely outshine a pretty dysfunctional defense that the Seahawks have, and I'm sticking with that pick. I'm going to pick the Rams here. Rams over the Seahawks. And finally, key game number 4, it is the New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The number 1 seed is on the line in this game, and whoever wins this game pretty much owns the tiebreakers, and even if the records end up tied, they will be the number 1 seed. And pretty much the other team will pretty much be the 2nd seed there. I mean, I could say the 1 and 2 seeds here, pretty much the Patriots and the Steelers will clinch it. Now, last week, Brady going 24-43, 233 yards, 1 touchdown pass, but 2 interceptions against the Dolphins last week. Look, it wasn't his best game all season. I mean, the Dolphins actually did a great job in playing the Patriots in this game. But that game kind of, I wouldn't say that game is kind of meaningless, even though they could have won the division on Monday. But they're pretty much saving everything now for this game here. And I think it's important to them because they want the home field advantage. And so does Pittsburgh. I think home field advantage is going to be key throughout the playoffs in the AFC. Roethlisberger last week, 44-66, 506 yards. That was huge last week, and 2 touchdown passes. Patriots are a 3-point favorite in this one. That number may get a little bit lower here. I mean, let's cut to the chase between these both teams. Both teams really did not play all that well. Pittsburgh had to come from behind to beat Baltimore. The Patriots, they were without Gronkowski, so they had somewhat of an excuse in that game because Gronkowski really is key to them winning. Very tough pick here. Who wins this game? But I'm going with the New England Patriots. I just think with Gronkowski back, that's going to help their offense here. And if Pittsburgh falls behind in this game, I don't think they're going to come back in this one because for some reason the Patriots defense has come alive here. Now, I know last week they didn't play all that well against the Dolphins, but I think more they're trying to get mentally ready for this game. So yeah, a lot at stake here. The number 1 seed pretty much will be decided in this game, and then the loser of this game pretty much will get the 2 seed. And I'm going to put the Patriots here. I think the Patriots will win this game here. It'll be very close, but I think the Patriots beat the Steelers here, and I'm going to stick with it. Patriots over the Steelers. All right, everybody, that wraps up my picks for week number 15. For all of my week 15 picks, please go to thesportblog.blogspot.com. That's where you find that's why I'll be picking all of the week 15 games. And, of course, I will see you guys next week when I talk about my week 16 picks. It is the Christmas edition because it will fall under Christmas that week. So, guys, I just want to say I hope everybody enjoys their weekend here, and I'll see you next week when I talk about my picks for that week. Until then, take care.